Hello and welcome back. I am Basically Hawkins, and today I'll be going over all the news and reveals that I've missed out on over the past week or so. And believe me, there is a lot to talk about. So to start out, I'm going to talk about the reveals from the One Piece card game Twitter account, specifically the ones from the Twitter account. Then we'll go over some reveals that were during the live stream, because there's some good stuff there too. First off, we have, I'm going in chronological order. First off, we have the Kinemon card. I'm a big fan of Kinemon, and I'm a big fan of the art of this card. This is just a basic art card, but it does give me some ideas about what I think might be cards in the booster set as a whole, because we've now gotten Kyoshiro, we've gotten Kinemon, we've gotten Kawamatsu, which makes me think that we'll probably get a Odin leader card, would be my guess. I'm assuming we're probably going to get, if not all of the 9 scabbards, a good number of them, and we'll get an Odin leader card, allowing us to make a 9 scabbards deck, or maybe even something less specific like a samurai deck or something, so that way something like Zoro could fit into that, and maybe some other cards in the future like Ryuma or something. So it could be like an Odin leader card that's like, if this, like maybe like all slasher types get some sort of attack buff or something like that. But I think just because we have been getting a good number of scabbards like this Kinemon, there's a good chance we're either going to get Odin, or maybe even Kinemon himself will be a leader card. The next reveal that we got was Mihawk, and this art is awesome. They've really made him look like a beefcake. This is really cool. Another sword user, so once again, I'm saying, getting Odin in there with the slasher type buff, here's another card that would definitely benefit from that. Also, he would obviously fit into Warlord, Shichibukai decks or whatever. He could go into a lot of different places, and people will probably want to use him because that art alone is worth using him. I can only imagine if it's going to be a foil or not. But yeah, awesome art, very exciting card. I think everybody's a Mihawk fan. He's a very likable card. The next Twitter reveal that we got was the card Scalpel from the Green Starter deck. This is a event card that would be from the Green Starter deck with an image of Law fighting Smoker on it, probably from Punk Hazard, I'm assuming. And it's a 1-cost green card that says, counter, your leader or up to one of your characters gains 2,000 power for the duration of the battle. Then switch up to one of your Dawn to active. So that's a counter effect that basically gives a buff like a lot of the counter effects we've seen, but then it has the additional effect of making one of your Dawn active. So this is a 1-cost card, so you would rest a Dawn to play it, and then when the effect is up, it switches a Dawn back to active, essentially making it a free counter. And it also has the trigger effect, switch up to 2 of your Dawn to active. So this card in your life would have the ability to just give you 2 Dawn. Obviously it would be on your opponent's turn if that trigger were to be hit, but that is 2 Dawn that you would have additional during your opponent's turn that you'd be able to use for counters and that kind of thing. So that is a very nice effect, and it's very much leading into the idea we have that green is definitely going to be a active, unactive, whatever the term is. It's going to be manipulating that kind of thing, the active and non-active, waking cards up after they've been used, probably both actual cards like character cards and Dawn cards, which is going to be very powerful because it's basically going to allow things to be used multiple times. So that is a great event card, a really nice counter, considering it's essentially free to use. As long as you have a Dawn available to use to play the card, you get that Dawn back anyway. Very nice card. The next card we have is poor Beppo, who is basically the Karoo of the Green Starter deck. And I must say they did him dirty, because Beppo, he's the Zoro to Law's Luffy, and they gave him Karoo status. That's just mean. I mean, it's the 1-cost character cards are useful. They are good cards and have a lot of functionality, but I mean, poor guy, he's stronger than that. It's an anime screenshot, it's fine. He's got that 1,000 counter too, so he is basically the exact same as Karoo or Jinrumi from Purple. I mean, he even looks bummed out on the image. But, who knows? Maybe someday we'll get a Sulong form of him and we'll be able to get him a better, stronger version of himself to play. But for now, he's just a little vanilla scrub boy that you'll play to get some bodies on the table. He's the pawn in this chess set, but I still love him. Love me some Beppo. The next day, we got a Law character card from the starter deck. The manga image shows, I believe this is a pre-time skip Law, and that's very interesting because I'm not sure how much pre-time skip imagery we've actually had so far, but this is a pre-time skip manga panel Law art, and he is a 5-cost, 6,000 power slasher style card. He has the Super Rookie and Heart Pirates traits. He has that 1,000 counter, as a lot of cards do, and his effect is, on play, set one of your rested characters with Super Rookie or Heart Pirate trait with a cost of 5 or less to active. So essentially you would play him, you'd pay your 5 cost, and then if you had another Supernova or Heart Pirate on the field that's 5 cost or less, that card gets to be unsuspended, woken up, essentially allowing it to be used again during the turn. So that goes back to that reusing cards that you've already used thing that's going to be in green. You know, you've got like the promo kid that has the double attack. So can you imagine playing this Law after you have attacked with that kid and then waking that kid back up so it gets to do a double attack a second time? That could be really, really powerful. And definitely green is shaping up to be, right off the bat, a very threatening style of deck. I think a lot of people are very excited about it because it just really seems like green is going to have a lot going for it right off the bat. Red's very straightforward, just sort of attack and power up and attack. Purple's got a bit more strategy, but green is just like you get to attack a lot. That's what we've seen so far, and it's very exciting. It's very cool. The next night, we had the Virgo card art. Virgo is a subordinate of Doflamingo, I believe, which makes me think that there is a chance that we could have a Doflamingo leader card coming out of the booster set. I guess he could technically be a subordinate to like a Navy leader card, but I don't think, I think he's the presence of him really makes me think that we're going to be getting a Doflamingo leader card, because that's basically the only character that he's really associated with. So yeah, I'm going to go on record. Virgo means Doflamingo leader. And Virgo, the art's pretty cool. He's kind of a throwaway character. You know, never really had that much of an impact on me. He has kind of a cool, interesting fight with Sanji and Law and Smoker, but you know, he's fine. You know, the art's nice. It's very much that Punk Hazard room where most of his stuff takes place. And you know, I do like that they're sort of pulling in, you know, B-tier characters. I don't know what you'd call them. Sort of smaller characters, less significant characters than the biggest major characters. So that's nice to see that it's not going to be just all focused on the biggest, most important characters. You know, he's a subordinate. He's like a middle-ranked Doflamingo subordinate who's a subordinate to Kaido. So it's like, you know, it's nice to see that we are going to probably be getting a lot of cards for a lot of characters that maybe their effects will be so cool. Characters that people originally didn't care about will become fan favorites because of cool art or cool effects. You know, that's one of my hopes with this card game, is that a lot of underrepresented characters that people didn't really care about, get more focus, or at least, you know, let you look twice at them. And the most recent Twitter reveal we have thus far is the green starter deck killer character card. This card uses an anime screenshot, which is pretty, you know, it's pretty fine, but it is a 3-cost, 3,000 power slasher style card, and it has the effect, on play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. So essentially, if your opponent has a character that's attacked and you play this, you can get rid of it if it's a 3-cost or less. But that also makes me think that green is going to have effects that are actually involve resting your opponent's characters. That is something that is very prevalent in green in Digimon, is suspending your opponent's Digimon so that you're free to attack them and stuff like this. So that makes me think that green is going to have effects, probably an event card or a character card that's like, on play, rest one of your opponent's 3 costs or less. And then something like Killer, you play it and then it kills that rested card. And Killer also has the trigger effect, play this card. So if Killer happens to be in your life and it gets hit, you can plop it onto the field and then KO one of your opponent's rested characters that are 3 cost or less. Which, you know there's going to be at least one rested character because you got attacked. So if this card is in your life, it is a very nice card to have because it could potentially kill the card that just attacked your life to begin with. I think this card is actually very nice and very functional. It's based upon your opponent having rested characters, so there is a bit of an ability to play around the effect if you're worried about your opponent having that card. And it only affects a 3 cost card or less, but considering it's just a simple on-play effect and there's not any additional cost to it, I think this card is quite nice. That counter plus 1000 is there too, just in case. I think Killer is very nice and is going to go great in the green starter deck that we've seen so far. We also got a couple card reveals from the live stream that weren't related to the red starter deck and purple starter deck, which are the Eustis Kid character card from the green starter deck, which is a 7 cost, 7000 power special style card who has blocker as an effect, and the effect Dawn 1, so you attach a Dawn to him. When your turn ends, switch this character to active. So that's a very interesting and cool effect because that basically means that you can attack with him, and then at the end of your turn, wake him back up, so he'll be usable as a blocker during your opponent's turn. That's a great double usage card. That seems to be the theme of green, obviously, is that you get to do multiple things with your cards if you have the resources. So he blocks, and he's got a lot of block power, which is really nice. That 7000 is already a lot of blocker. And you can attack with him and still be able to use him as a blocker. That's a great effect. That's obviously going to be sort of I imagine that's going to be a huge card in the green starter deck because it's obviously a kid-based deck. So that's a really good card. We also have the Crocodile character card from the Crocodile blue starter deck, the Warlord starter deck. And his effect he is a 5 cost with 6000 power, and his effect is blocker. Dawn 1, when blocking, return up to one of your opponent's cost 2 or lower characters to the bottom of their deck. So that's a very interesting effect, and gives us an insight into blue as well, which is that blue is going to be able to do things while they block. And it returns cards to the bottom of their deck, which is a blue effect that you'd see in Digimon too. So he's very interesting, and blue itself is very interesting because you get to block, and you get a little extra benefit for blocking. So that's really nice. You block, you have your Dawn attached when you're blocking, and then you can send it 2 costs to the bottom of your opponent's deck, basically getting rid of 2 cards at once, or 2 attacks at once at least. And, 6000 power, a very solid blocker as well. So blue is very exciting and shaping up to be a very interesting, mechanically interesting color as well. In addition to those starter cards, we also got a couple actual card previews from the first booster set. That is, cards that actually have their effects on the cards, which we've never seen before. We've only ever seen art from the booster set, so it's really nice that we're actually getting to see cards that have their effects. So these cards won't be in the starter decks, but probably will be very useful to add into the starter decks, as using the starter decks as sort of a foundation. So first off, we have the Trafalgar Law character card from the booster set. And this card is a 5 cost, 6000 power slasher type card with blocker. And it has the on-play effect. You may return one of your characters to your hand. Play 1 3 cost or lower character card from your hand. So that's a very interesting effect, because it basically allows you to take a card off your field and put a new card on the field, basically for free. That would basically allow you to attack with a card and then play this law, and then put that card back in your hand and play a new card. And so that card that you attacked with is now safe from being attacked by your opponent, especially if it's a card you really want. So it's a very interesting effect. It's not something I've really thought about, but it's a very cool and interesting effect. And of course, Law also has that blocker, which is really nice. But that on play, very, very interesting. That's definitely a thinker, that effect. Return a return a character to your hand to play a 3 cost or lower character from your hand. And so obviously that 3-cost or lower character from your hand would be free and could potentially have an on play that would also help future abilities. So that could really have some interesting combo mechanics depending on the cards we see from green that are revealed as time goes by. So green is very interesting and shaping up to be a very combo-y deck. So that's pretty cool. Also worth mentioning is the most matte art I've seen in a while for these cards. Compared to the other cards I'm about to talk about, this card is actually really sad artistically. It's a screenshot. It's Law with his sword. It's almost jarring when you look at the other cards because the other card art are so good. So let me just talk about those. The next card I'll talk about is the Kaido character card from the booster set. This is a 10-cost, 12,000 power striker style card. And its effect is on play, Dawn -7. If your leader has the Animal Kingdom Pirates trait, KO all characters other than this one. So that is nuts. That is a crazy silver bullet. I don't know what else to call it. It is a crazy wipe the field clean kind of card that could potentially save you a game if you're in dire straits, or just guarantee you a victory because he just clears the field, clears everything, clears your cards, clears your opponent's cards, but you do get this 12,000 power card on the field after that. That is crazy. That is a super powerful effect, but could also be really dangerous because of how expensive it is to use. And worth note, the art is awesome. Such a cool art. This is a super rare, so I'm assuming it's gonna be foil, and he's swinging his hammer. It's glowing with hockey or maybe conquerors, maybe whatever, and he is swinging hard, and it just looks awesome. This is one of many Kaido cards we've seen now. We've actually gotten a lot of different Kaido character cards now, which is very interesting only because we still haven't gotten a Kaido dragon form card yet. We're getting all of these Kaidos, but we haven't gotten one of him transformed yet. So I'm wondering if that's something they're also going to release this set, which is going to take Kaido to the next level. Not that he really needs the help. I mean, these cards are really strong and cool. But yeah, Kaido, that card, very interesting, very powerful, but maybe too strong. Who knows? Certainly very expensive. It would require you to use all of your Dawn and return 7 of it back to your deck. Yeah, a thinker card. The next card we have has no right to look as good as it does, which is the blue Alveda card from the booster pack. This card's art is so good. I don't know why, but I mean I do know why. It's because it looks good. But it's such a good art. It's so cool. It's glistening. This is like Digimon quality art. And for a character that I think most people are pretty mad on. And Alveda is a 2-cost, 3,000 power striker style card. She's a representative of the Buggy Pirates. And she has the effect Dawn 1, so you attach a Dawn to her. When attacking, you may discard 1 card from your hand to return one of your opponent's 3-cost or lower cards to their hand. So that's just a classic blue effect. That's probably what we're going to see a lot of in the blue color, which is doing something to return cards to your opponent's hand. That is a lot of what blue is in Digimon, and that's clearly what blue is set out to do in One Piece. She also has a 2,000 counter, which is a very nice counter to have, but she's just so cheap. That 2 cost is really cheap for her to have such a powerful, potentially, effect. She's a 2 cost who can get rid of a 3 cost without even having to attack it. So I think this is going to be a really strong card. It's only a common too, so it's really nice to know that these commons potentially can have such nice art. Meanwhile, we have super rares with like the Law that we just talked about. I'm hoping that Law will have an alt art because we've seen a nice Law art from what's potentially the booster set. So I'm hoping that Law alt art, or whatever you want to call it, is for this card, just so that we can have a version of that card that looks good and is also powerful and useful. But yeah, this Alveda looks so good, looks very nice and powerful, and I'm sure will fit into most blue decks because it's just such a great, simple, cheap effect to do something really nice and useful. And then the final card we have to talk about is another card that looks really, really good. And that honestly shouldn't be surprising because it's for such a beautiful character, Cavendish. Cavendish is a super rookie and a member of the Beautiful Pirates. He is going to be a red card, and he has a 4-cost 5,000 power slasher style, and his effect is on play. You may return one of your life to your hand. This character gains rush during this turn. And that is very interesting when you think about it, because his cost is essentially taking away one of your own life to give himself rush. But you do get to add that life to your hand, so it does function almost as a sort of draw. You get to add a card to your hand, which is something that's not very easy in this game. Drawing mechanically is not something that's very common, especially for red as we've seen so far. So getting to add a card to your hand with an effect is actually really nice, even if it does come from your life. And this card gets rush, so he's a 4-cost that gets rush. He's got 5,000 power. He gives you a little bit of a extra resource gain, which is also a cost, but you know, it has an upside because you do get to add that card to your hand. He's just a great card all around. I mean, if you took him and added him to the red starter deck without, while only swapping out a couple cards, he fits right in. He's got such a nice effect. He's obviously not a straw hat on his effect, so he doesn't get stuff like the 1,000 Sunny benefit and stuff like that. But I mean, overall, he really is a great card. And he's a common too, which is so surprising considering his art is so nice. Which makes me think that there's potentially a lot of basic and easy to get cards that are going to have really nice art, which I think is a concern for a lot of people because a lot of the cards we're seeing have such basic images, either from the anime or from the manga, and they don't really look like something that you'd want to invest in for like collecting if it's going to be just sort of basic plain card looking things. But these arts that we're seeing here really give me a lot of hope that there's potential for basically all cards, or at least most of the cards in your deck, to look really nice and original, which I think most people want. You want your deck to look cool. You want the cards in your hand to look cool. It makes me more excited to play specific cards. Like Alveda. I would never think about wanting to run an Alveda, but that card looks so good, I want to now. I think blue is shaping up to be one of the colors I'm most interested in. We also have a bit of news to talk about from the One Piece live stream, and that news is specifically that we do have another starter deck announced, and with that starter deck, a new color announced. We are going to be getting, after the film starter deck is released later on this year, we are going to be getting the Marine starter deck, which, I don't have to tell you how exciting that is, that we're basically getting Marines as an archetype, and they're going to be black, so they're getting their own color. I don't expect that all Marines are going to be black immediately. I think black is just going to be the starter deck for Marines, and we make it Marines that go into other decks too. But, Marines, very cool. There's a lot of great and cool Marines out there. And in addition to the starter deck, we also got the theme for our second booster set of cards, which is going to be based around the Marineford arc of One Piece, which is the Whitebeard Pirates versus the Marines, which is very exciting because that's got to be one of the coolest arcs in all of One Piece, with some of the best characters that we don't really get to see that much of in the series as a whole. So I think it'll be really exciting to get to see cards based around those characters. The Whitebeard Pirates, I'll be shocked if we don't get a Whitebeard leader card, but also, Marco and Jozu and Vista and the Pocket Guy and the guy with the monkey, Izo, and also the Marines, obviously, with Kizaru and Akainu and Aokiji and all of them, Garp and Sengoku. It's going to be really exciting to see all of the characters based around, like, if all of the character cards that came out of that set are just based on that arc, that's going to be exciting. I think, they can go as deep cut as they want, and I'll still be happy. There's characters in there that I don't think I would ever remember their name, but if they're in the set, I'll be excited. There's no two ways about it. That's one of the best arcs in One Piece, and any representation in card form, I'm very excited to see, especially the Marines and the Whitebeard Pirates. Obviously, there's also the Impel Down escapees that make it some representation in there, but I'm sure there'll be a Sengoku leader card, maybe even a Blackbeard leader card, and obviously a Whitebeard leader card. So those are leaders that I think everybody's going to want to play, just because those are some of the best characters. In addition to that, we also got a little bit of a preview on the One Piece website of the film starter deck. I don't know if it's exactly based on Film Red starter deck, but we do have a little images of some of the characters that we'll be seeing, specifically Shiki from One Piece Strong World, Uda, who is Shanks' daughter in the new film that isn't out yet, and Bullet from Stampede. So clearly this starter deck is going to be using characters from a bunch of movies, just based on those 3 characters alone. I mean, I guess it's possible they could all be in Film Red, but I think it makes more sense that they're going to use characters from the spectrum of One Piece movies, which means I probably need to watch the One Piece movies because I really haven't seen them at all. I've seen Z. I think that's the only one I've seen. So I'm going to have to do my homework because I bet if I watch those movies, I'll be excited about that starter deck. So yeah, that's about all I've got to talk about today. We are getting closer and closer to the proper release of this in Japan, and then we won't have to speculate anymore, and we'll know what this game is like. We'll see those cards in the booster packs. We'll know what the full starter decks look like and how they interact with each other, and I'm getting very excited to be able to play this game in its fullest form with all the starter decks, and we'll be able to start making decks of our own with the cards from the booster set, and then eventually we're going to get the film starter deck, and then we're going to get the black starter deck and the Marineford cards, and this is shaping up to be a very, very exciting card game. And yeah, if you want to keep up with all the info and you want to hear it from me, don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you next time. See you guys. Have a good one.